everyone. I'm Natalie Bensavanga.
And I'm Leanne Jamira, and this is Heating Up.
That's right. This is the show that explores the intersection between the foods that we love to make and the conversations we need to be having around social justice and climate change.
So sit back and relax while we make comfort foods that are good for you and good for the planet. So Natalie, what are we making today?
Okay, so I like to veganize comfort foods, and you're going to hear me say that a lot, the word veganize. So there is nothing more comforting than mac and cheese.
Of course.
So today what we're going to do is we're going to make a plant-based macaroni and cheese that I promise, is a crowd pleaser even for your carnivorous friends.
Really?
I promise, yeah. And the reason is because of my wonderful meat substitute here, which is tempeh. This is a smoked tempeh, so it's fermented soybeans. Amazing. You want to try it? We just sauteed it a little bit in some olive oil to get it going, but you can also do it in vegetable oil.
It smells so good. It's really good.
Don't you love that? It's so yummy. So our secret ingredient here to make our cheesy, creamy sauce is sunflower seeds.
Okay.
Which a lot of people don't realize sunflower seeds are a way more economical than using nuts, and it's nut-free, and they're full of selenium, so they're amazing for you. And then we got some miso paste, which gives it that like cheesy umami kick. And you guys are going to hear this a lot, but my secret weapon, my favorite thing to put in all of the food.
Can I say it?
Go
Because
ahead.
I already know what it is.
Tell them.
Nutritional yeast.
That's right. I love me some nutritional yeast, and we got plenty of it right here. The reason I love it is because it is so good for you. It is full of B vitamins, including B12. It's a complete protein, full of amino acids. And I just like it because it gives everything that like cheesy, nutty flavor.
I don't think I've ever met a vegan who doesn't bring up nutritional yeast at least 10 times every time I hang out with them. So this show is a very much like real time being besties with a vegan because you will hear nutritional yeast 20 times.
You're welcome,
within
people.
A 20-minute video.
It's true. So what we're going to do is we're going to add all of these scrumptious items here. We got some coconut milk, some incredible seasonings here. And I also like to saute some onions, and that's going to go into our cheese sauce as well. It really gives it a nice tangy flavor. So all we're going to do is blend it while our pasta is cooking.
I can't wait.
It's going to be amazing.
I can't
And
wait.
secret trick over here. We got a little bit of pasta water here, which the starch gives it a little more of a creaminess. So if you got some, you want to throw it in there. But why don't you start chopping up some onions too? And we can actually just get this party started. There is so much to talk about when it comes to comfort foods and cooking vegan, but honestly, like, let's just make this sauce, get our pasta cooked, and enjoy. Okay, so
Everything smells so good.
we got our pasta here. We got the tempeh, some green onion. I love to throw in something green. And of course,
Green onions are so good. You don't even need an excuse.
No.
You could put them
what
on
made it
cereal.
good? Green onions.
Maybe not. I regret
Try
saying that.
Leandra's recipe for green onions and cereal. Okay.
Then I didn't say that.
So let's add our cheese sauce because I'll let you do the honors. Do you want to take a little sniff first?
I know you really love me because this is like my love language.
I know.
It's
I know what you like. Look at that though, seriously. I mean, isn't that gorgeous?
I mean that.
Here, you
that
hold it
sound,
there. Oh,
the smell, everything.
I know.
I'm already salivating.
I mean, amazing. Okay, great. And then give that a stir. I'll toss these in while you're doing that. Guys, you're really missing out. But the good thing is, you can make this recipe. That's the beauty of it.
Is there a word for FOMO that has to do with food? Because I feel like the audience, you guys must just be feeling that. Like, how does
We're
it
just feeling
feel-
really good. That's the thing.
How does it feel not having this in front of your face right now?
The good thing is, what does this take us? Like 15 minutes to make? Seriously.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Should we plate a little for each of us?
Only off camera do we eat out of the pot. Come on.
Awesome. Okay. Let's do it.
All right.
Cheers to mac and cheese.
And
friends.
cheers to our first episode.
I mean, this is
Oh
so
my
exciting,
gosh.
and we're so
Okay.
glad that you were able to join us. Okay. Without further ado.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we eat the entire pot, because I feel like this is where this is going to go, let's get this plated and share it with our amazing dinner guests. We can't wait for you guys to hear what they have to say about heating up and their great work.
So stay tuned.
All right, well, we are so excited to have our very first dinner guest with us, and who better than the wonderful people from 412 Food Rescue. We have Leah Lizarrando with us here and Greg Austin. So thank you so much for having dinner with us.
Oh my goodness, we're so excited. I know I am. I just spoke for Greg. He just shared to me that he is.
It was appropriate.
So before we dig into our mac and cheese with a Z, do you mind talking a little bit about the history of 412 and letting people know why this organization came about?
Yes. So 412 Food Rescue officially launched around 2015, 2014. And it's really a response to the fact that, we are wasting 1/3 to 1/2 of our food supply. And it's good food. It's not plate waste. Not that there will be any today.
No, I hope not.
Yes, so it's and then on the other side of that, we know that so many Americans are food insecure. Post pandemic, it's about 50 million Americans, and we've seen statistics that have shown from the United Nations that if we recover even a quarter of this food, we will feed everyone in the world who are food insecure.
So just 25%. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Wow. Did you know that?
No, I mean, the only statistic I've sort of seen that I always remember is just that we're every year producing enough food for 10 billion people.
Yes,
and
we
we have
all
7
grit.
billion people. So it's sort
Oh
of
my gosh.
like what you guys do. It's just a matter of getting the food to the places it needs to get to, rather than more efficiently producing food, because we're already producing so much.
You said it. Exactly. It's a distribution problem.
So when we're talking about a distribution problem, where does 412 Food Rescue come into play in disrupting that cycle?
Right, so 412 Food Rescue is, we basically started with the assumption that, hey, if you and I and all of us can get our food delivered, our restaurant orders, our groceries, then everyone else should be able to get the food that they need as well, because the surplus food is coming from the same places, restaurants and groceries. So we created an app called Food Rescue Hero that mobilizes people like you and me, and these volunteers take food from grocery stores and restaurants that are surplus and deliver them to nonprofits and homes of families and individuals experiencing food insecurity.
So Greg, how did you get involved with 412 Food Rescue?
Well, as a career chef, I actually used them from the other end first.
Wait, you're a chef?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm sweating
you're-
because he's been taste testing some of these. Oh my gosh,
So
I had no
you're
idea. This
acting.
whole time I'm like, here, try this.
A gardener,
Oh, God.
a composter, a chef.
Now I'm nervous.
Yeah. Thanks.
No.
I use the term very loosely. But as a person who cooks, as a person who cooks professionally, I ended up being able to utilize their service, and it's always been a struggle working just in a competitive field with food. You're going to create waste.
Yeah.
And when somebody comes along and says, well, I've got something that might be able to help you with a little bit of that guilt and shame that you're feeling every day that the buffet is over.
Right.
That's how I heard about it. And then working with that, and then magic happened a few years later, and an opportunity came across my desk, and now I'm on the side that I wanted to be on all along.
Wow. So what's the process of getting the food distributed to the places that it needs to get to?
So there's a couple of ways, and Greg's going to talk about the second way, so I'm going to talk about the first way.
Okay.
So the first way is basically, a restaurant or a grocery store will let us know they have surplus food, and we match that food with a nonprofit or a home, and then we push notification on our app telling our drivers that, there's a rescue from this grocery store to this nonprofit, will you take it? Just like any delivery driver.
Wow. So
And
it's sort of
then-
like an Uber.
Yes,
but,
an Uber or DoorDash, and then if I'm free, then I'll say, okay, it's on the way from work to home. I'll totally do it.
Wow, okay.
And this is all volunteer based,
It's
correct?
all volunteer. We have about 10,000 people signed up in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, really.
Yeah, and then this app is now being used in 11 other cities in the U.S. and Canada, and I think we've completed over 300,000 deliveries already.
Wow.
That's
Do you ever
so
take a moment and just go, holy shit? like I can't believe what we're able to do over the past, what is it? It's only been 7 years,
It's
right?
only been 7 years, but really it's not surprising because I know you, and I know you will do it, and you will do it given the chance, and I just know that, there's thousands of people like us who will do it.
Yeah.
That's Pittsburgh.
And yeah, and when you make things accessible,
Right.
people will do the greatest things. It's just when it's like super hard and such an insurmountable type of like action to help, then it's
Yeah.
when you feel like you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Or when,
Yeah.
like you said, like coming home from work, that's on my way. I can just pick it up and drop it off, and that's it. Then you have 10,000 people doing it because it's just something
And-
easy and accessible.
And that was even why we wanted to do Heating Up in the first place. It was like anybody can make a plant-based meal with whatever they have on hand, and it makes you feel like you're doing something positive for yourself, for the climate, in general, because I think to your point, you can become really paralyzed when you start talking about these big picture problems. But when you break it down, like in your case, you may not be able to solve the world's problems, but you can drop off food and make an organization or a person have a meal or stop that waste in that moment, and that's a big deal because then it activates you, and then you just feel like you can do more than you
Yes.
thought. You know?
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's very empowering. Yeah. So, what are some other ways?
Industrially, that's where my special project comes in. We essentially take some of that food may not be able to be immediately useful to the partners, to the clients, to anybody on the receiving end. Whenever we see that, I capture that or try to. And then because maybe at that particular facility they don't have a cooking implement or they don't have everything that they need. So I'll take the cans that they can't open, or I'll take whatever, the raw beef that they don't necessarily have a way to process. I'll break it down, I'll turn it into meals, and then redistribute it to where that's necessary.
He basically is a demonstration of how everything can be zero waste. And so Greg heads up our Good Food Project as our chef, and what basically happens is he transforms all of this surplus food that no one found value in, and it becomes these beautiful meals. And whenever I visit, it's like, I want to eat that. So it's just so good. It's not like the food you would typically expect, and it's just showing what potential there is for all of this surplus, and it's magic.
All of the recipes that we eat and are like so known to us, like a chicken pot pie or even sandwiches, was just to like have bread, hold things like hand pies, was to keep what was inside fresh, not
Right.
because they thought that it was tasty. And so we used to utilize what we had at home to keep things fresh and to do exactly what Greg is doing now and try to feed everyone that you can. And so now you're doing exactly what your ancestors did, and like every other restaurant, well, not every other restaurant, but other restaurants are like not doing that, and they're purposefully like picking and choosing what they want to try and do what you're
It's
doing.
interesting. You hit the nail right on the head, and that is that was a paradigm shift. I came up training on the job in these kitchens, and that was the real shift in thinking and that's where all these recipes that everybody's modulating, they all come from this mode of thought
Exactly.
around food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our food cost is nearly zero. And
Wow.
that's, and
Wow.
we're producing about 500 meals a week at least.
Because there's so many restaurants or grocery stores just throwing out things that have not expired
Right.
and are perfectly good. I was reading something about how some grocery store chains, they actually will throw things out because they make orders that they know are going to be too much because they want the shelves to be stocked. So they'll have like
Oh my
extras
goodness.
of food, and they'll just take whatever's like the closest to the expiration
Oh,
date
yes.
and
oh,
throw it out. And
oh.
also because they think psychologically people won't buy something
Yep.
that's like 5 days from the expiration date.
Wow.
Yeah, so they like purposely will just continue ordering things even though they don't need to.
So
Yeah.
when we hear all of this, and then we go back to what you guys are doing, can we talk about these solutions? So what can individuals do, and outside of becoming a food rescue hero, what can individuals do in their own kitchens, in their own communities, to help get closer to that sort of zero waste ideal when it comes to food.
Do you want to start with what you do?
Greg's like,
Sure,
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, that's me.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I do take some inspiration from what's happening at work home and vice versa. I'll start with compost and soup. Those are
Oh, yes.
the two biggest ones.
Yes.
I love this.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, we'll get to pickling later.
Right.
Oh my
More
God.
advanced. I know.
Yeah.
Pickling's
More
a little
advanced.
It's
daunting.
huge,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know,
Soup.
when we're looking
Yeah.
at this stuff, I always think, what was going on 120 years ago?
Yeah.
Just like we got to earlier, you know, look at cheese. Cheese is a way to keep dairy longer. And if our goal is extending the shelf life of these perishable things for just maximum viability, that's it. You know, so look at what pickling was, why it's there, canning, all of these skills that are like, you know, just starting to bubble up in the zeitgeist. Let's get back to those. And that's what I'm trying to do in the kitchen. And at home, I compost and make soup. I make a soup every week. Every Sunday, that's what I'm going to do when I leave here. I take whatever is about to go before I do my grocery run, make a soup.
It's just crazy that we've gotten so far from like even like what the origins of the food we eat. Like I didn't know that about cheese, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does
about,
make so much
about
sense.
Isn't it
cheese.
crazy that it only really took like 80 years to get so far from that?
Right.
Yes.
And I have a friend who
When you say things like that, I
It's
forget
terrifying.
these things,
Yeah.
and it's true.
yeah,
It's
like we're
I
only
feel
like
it's only a
2
couple
or
of
3
generations.
generations.
But-
Exactly.
Exactly.
I have a
Luckily, it's not so far that it's like a Library of Alexandria issue.
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Right. Like it's still
Yeah.
with us.
We can still get it.
Yeah.
We still
Still
have
with us.
access. So.
Yeah. Like one
right.
of my friends a couple weeks ago, she was like,
This is why I love you. Just analogies like the Library of
Exactly.
Alexandria.
But one of my
But
friends,
it's
Yeah.
one of my friends a couple weeks ago, she was saying like, I don't know what I would do without refrigeration, and I'm trying to learn how to keep things
What would I
without.
do without
Right,
refrigeration?
exactly.
Right.
Because even as
Yeah.
climate change, we go further. Like we're going to have more energy, like
Yep.
power outages. Look at Texas.
Mhm.
I mean, for weeks they didn't have
Yeah.
refrigeration.
Right.
And so, like, how can we make sure that we're equipped and our communities are equipped well enough to be as flexible, as innovative with their food as possible so that we can stay resilient, alive, autonomous.
And
so
thrive.
what you guys do is exactly why we're having you on the show.
Yeah.
So continue with the solutions because I don't need to depress us about climate change.
No. But I think on that note, now I'm kind of nervous because Greg, the chef, is going to be trying the food. But we did make mac and cheese, so maybe we should end with like a little taste of the mac and cheese before we dig in. And we
Yeah,
just
tell
want to
us a
thank
little
you.
bit about the mac and cheese.
Yeah, so this is a sunflower seed sauce.
My favorite.
And I love sunflower seeds. They're good.
Best.
They are because, you know, you soak them and they get so creamy and they're much more cost effective than cashews or other nuts. And it's a
Right.
nut-free
Yeah.
product. So if you have a nut allergy or somebody in your family does, this is a really affordable, easy way to, you know, make that cream sauce. And then I just added some tempeh. And today for a little green, we did some scallions. And of course, there's nutritional yeast, as everyone knows. That's my secret weapon for
That's
everything.
it.
No,
Little
right,
miso
right.
paste
Yes.
gives it that cheesy
That
umaminess.
cheesy,
Love
right.
it.
So
Yeah, and
all right.
you know, eating
Yes.
plant-based is one of the easiest things
That's
you
right.
can do to,
Yeah.
you know, promote, you know, being resilient as well.
agree, and that was really the goal with Heating Up is how can we just make this accessible so anybody can make these meals, and
Right.
you'll see a lot of the same ingredients pop up from week to week because we didn't want people to feel like they had to run out and get new
a
things.
whole pantry worth.
Yeah.
Right.
So okay. Is it
Yeah.
good? Okay.
Good.
I got the chef's seal of approval. So
There's
on
a
that
smokiness
note,
that's almost Gouda-y.
yes,
Yeah,
that's the smoked
exactly.
paprika.
Nailed it.
Exactly.
So good.
Let's
I
just
want
end
the
on that
recipe.
note, you guys,
Yeah.
because he just said I nailed it. So I think we're good here.
Fantastic.
So thank you both so much for being a part of Heating Up, and we so appreciate the great work being done in the community by 412 Food
Thank
Rescue.
you for having us.
Yes.
But before you guys go, how can people here get involved with you guys? Where do we find you guys? How do we find 412
Yeah,
Food
it's
Rescue?
412foodrescue.org or download the app on the App Store or the Google Play
right.
Store. Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll be
I
doing
will
that
be
after
doing that. Exactly. I will be doing that. I'll be on my bike doing the delivery.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Take some bread. Thank
Thanks for
you.
having
Bon appetit.
Delicious.
Thank you.